What is this show about? Oof, that's a big question. This show is about what it takes to be an artist in 2024.
Yeah.
And what does it take to be an artist in 2024?
When you're an artist in 2024, there's the work, there's the art, and then you have to market it and find your audience. And the show explores that relationship and how kind of it is. Because you can't just think about the art, you have to think about the marketing plan around the art. Are they different or are they the same thing? And what is this relationship between them? When you are creating art, you know, you're putting a part of your self-identity within it.
Yes.
But then you put that into the marketing plan, suddenly you're putting yourself and your authentic self out on display, which is also kind of it's not about what you have to say, it's about what people want to hear.
Yes.
And then that's and
It's
then
a lot.
that then shapes the work. And I suppose this work's just trying to kind of explore that.
Yeah.
Very succinct. Amazing. Participating in the show as an artist, I mean, we're all artists, aren't we? But I think it is that push-pull between the creation of the art and the sale of the art and what drives us to want to create, but then what pushes us to need to sell. And one can't exist without the other, but they're kind of in opposition. That exploration of that kind of intersection of those two things is so interesting. And as someone who's done that before, I know what that feels like and how weird it is, but it's really fun to be able to put something up to make people kind of understand that.
You know what's wild? You calling us all artists. I think something this play also explores is that I particularly have not felt like an artist for the longest time because there is this perception that to be an artist, you have to be creating art. I feel like for the last decade, I've basically been in maybe hibernation. I was kind of sick of hiding and it was time for me to create work. But still being called an artist still makes me go, oh, am I actually an artist? I don't know. Like, I'm just, yeah. So that's just interesting.
I would probably feel weird calling myself an artist.
Yeah, I'd be like, I'm here with two artists.
Yeah,
Isn't that
because
wild?
it's so vulnerable.
It is.
Which is, again,
It is.
part of what
It
the
is.
show explores. Because if you say you're an artist, you have to be responsible for your art and people's consumption of it and their feelings about it.
Yeah.
It's so exposing.
I imagine like when you sing, like there's something just like, I don't know. It's like, it's just you when you're singing, and that scares the absolute out of me. And I feel like when you were describing like art, like what is it to be an artist or an artistry, that's the feeling, the vulnerability of like, I'm just putting something out into the world and I can't hide behind it or behind anything else other than it. It's there and people will have opinions on it. And I have to put it out there knowing that I just can't give a you know?
I totally had the fear that you would all look at me and go, you're an idiot.
But even what you're describing about your creative process is what is explored within the play,
show.
within
Yeah.
the show, you know, which is just this, like these blocks, like what can come up that's actually kind of stopping you from having a voice or sharing your voice. Because when you're just with yourself, there's sort of, you can create these limitations, but all of a sudden when you're out and you're kind of in a group, then it's like that can just go away. We can actually get to the work and get to the conversation or the story or what you're actually trying to say and put out into the world. It's crazy. Like it's crazy when you read the work and you're working on it that you even, like that you think that.
Yeah.
Another, you
Yeah,
know?
totally. And then it's also so legitimate.
Meaning about your work.
Oh,
Because
no,
it's so awesome. You know?
Yeah. That's what you have to kind of wrestle with when you put your work out there.
Yes.
And it's not the loudest voice always. Sometimes it's something else that you have to look at. And sometimes
Yes.
you just have to know yourself that was so authentic to you. It doesn't matter what anybody else says.
Oof.
Which is very,
Yeah.
very hard to do, to
Yeah.
hold on to in the face of people who want to be negative and want to say something nasty because they're looking for a way to feel better about themselves, and that's how they're doing it.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you just don't know where people are at when
No.
and what's going on for them when they're engaging
Yeah.
with things, you know, like in that sense of like their mum keeping the car spick and span despite blah, 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 like what that
Where it's
means
coming
for
from.
them because of whatever they've gone through. Like that's so interesting, you know. Yeah, and so hard to be able to kind of separate constantly.
Hopefully when people come into the theatre, they are primed to see a story.
Well, you're also with people, like you're like, as opposed to this, which is like even what you're describing in the creative process when you're by yourself versus when you're in
In a space
relationship,
with people.
community
Yeah.
with people, how regulating that is, that when you come to theatre, people are consciously stepping in that space with another group of humans, you know, which I feel like is how we should be engaging with.
Which,
with it, yeah.
yeah, that theme's also explored in the play.
Yeah.
About who your audience is and what's important down the barrel of the gun.
Like what do you do? Like in the way that it's an existential, like the characters are going through an existential crisis. Like it's sort of like for the audience to kind of be thinking about how they want to navigate this world as well. Do you think?
I was going to say, did you get that? That was...
Yeah, that was so good.
That was it.
Okay, great. Yeah.
So as of now, I've not finished the script. How does that make you feel as an actor, Heather?
It's so interesting. I was saying that to someone the other day. My last show that I put on, I was rewriting it the day before it went up, which made my director moderately unhappy. It's very different being the person not holding the pen when the show is being rewritten. It's an important part of the process. And again, it is that being vulnerable. You come to things that are unfinished because they're strengthened by the collaborative process. You know, things don't arrive in a neat bow, especially new work.
Yes.
And you have to be in it and mess around in it a little bit to kind of find the edges of it. So I think just reminding myself of that, knowing that you're with a group of people, you're supported by your directors and your colleagues, and that you've done the work and it will be enough because you are enough.
Yes.
Whoa. Yes. Oh, it's deep. I did email someone and asked her, I'm feeling like an absolute imposter. How do I deal with that? And she was like, it doesn't go away. You just manage it. You will always feel this way.
Yeah.
And I went, wow, cool. That's kind of good to know because I've let that hold me back in the past.
Yeah.
But yeah, it turns out, and that's also a theme in the show, that yeah, everyone's dealing with insecurities and dealing with shit, but they're just putting themselves back together and doing the work because it matters to them, matters to their community, to their family. Yeah, that's huge. I've told them I sound like a cow in rehearsals because someone says something smart and I go, So I fed this play into ChatGPT to try to get a name for it because I couldn't think of it. And what I ended up getting to, it wasn't on the list. I ended up calling it Instructions Not Included. Instructions Not Included is the best name for this because I kind of did keep looking for instructions on how to write a play. As a first-time writer, I don't know what the I'm doing and I'm really scared all the time. So I kept looking for instructions. How do I write a play? And turns out there aren't any. You just got to do it. Same with marketing. There are technically instructions. Even when you follow instructions, you're so scared of failing, but there is no instructions to what success is. Success is different to everyone. That's a representation of the title of it and how it's just instructions is a working progress to how we navigate our lives.
I mean, I love the fact that it's evolving. And what I'm finding too is it's like we're just taking what's there and just going, hey, there, and just go and pull and amplify that more. And in some ways going, yes, like encourage going, yes, more. And sometimes like when we're having conversations and you're like, boom, 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 in like real life as yourself, it's like, that's great, put it in there, put it in, you know? It's like sort of helping to have that confidence to step in, to fully step into yourself in that way because you've got lots of awesome stuff to say and insight and wisdom. Or you say it.
You say it. I write it, you say it.
Yeah. Instructions Not Included is just that thing that, I mean, we're looking at it in the show through the lens of what it means to be an artist and how challenging that process is. But it kind of applies to everyone because everyone is just wandering around trying to work out what is going on, how to manage themselves, how to be a person in this world. Struggles that our characters are going to go through is so relatable to everyone because we're all going through that all the time. And everybody just is looking for the answer and there isn't one. So it's just reconciling that and working out how to be a person now.
Yeah.
It's a curious process creating art. Before writing this play, there have been things that I've been interested in doing that have been artistic in nature, but I haven't felt like they're worth it because they're not going to end up online promoting me. What is the point of art if people aren't going to see it? It's not enough for me to just do it alone. It feels very masturbatory. It needs to be furthering my career somehow. This is not necessarily the truth. I'm just throwing this out.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting that a career, it almost feels different to need to have a career to be an artist. Do you know what I mean? Like career feels like there's a sense of like heading towards something, whilst I feel like the artist is just with what's happening right now. And maybe it's not. Like it's connected to something bigger for the people that are watching it, but not necessarily from a career point of view.
Whoa.
I started saying to people, oh, I'm working this weekend. And people are like, oh, what do you got work? Really? And I'm like, yeah, I'm, doing this acting job, or I've got that writing project. And they're like, oh, okay. Being able to call yourself an artist and being able to actually validate that this is not a hobby, this is not fun. It's so very important, whether it turns into a career or not. Calling it work feels like such a thing to me. And so few people understand that. Which is so interesting, your comment about a career.
Well, when you were saying, what came to me then was like, it's like I'm thinking career is to do, like you get paid for it. And I think that's that's something we think, it's like, are you an artist if you don't get paid for it? Like, is it also about being seen and it's about being recognised for it? Just because you're not being paid for it, like if it's independent theatre, if it's something that's like a creative project that you're ultimately wanting to share, yes, but there's not money in it. Does it make it a career? Does it make it work? Like, yeah, it's interesting.
We also live in a society where you exchange money for things that you see to be of value.
Yeah.
And when we continually underpay artists or expect them to work for free, I think that really says something about our valuation of that, even though we expect to be entertained 24/7 by TikTok, by Netflix, by all these platforms where people are chronically underpaid or not paid at all, and yet that's what it is.
Yeah.
But then you can't not create the art because that's who you are.
Yes. Yes.
And then just that idea of value. And again, this is the insecurity of being an artist.
Yeah.
Wanting to open up to people and ask them to give time when who knows how much we're going to get paid, because it depends on who buys tickets. I was just yes-anding for content.
That needs to be on a t-shirt. I was just yes-anding for content. I love that. You should put that in the play.
That should be in the play.
That should be in the play.
This has been our whole rehearsal process of like, this should be in a play.